Hello and welcome to this somewhat experimental episode of Not Overthinking, where we are recording in Regent's Park and we are attempting to walk while doing a podcast because, getting the steps in and all that kind of stuff. Hey Mo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's nice to be outdoors, to be honest. It's maybe a bit warm, but I became step-pilled after last week's podcast episode.
Very good.
So I've been doing a lot more walking. I've been doing just like kind of moving the body a bit more really, and I'm pro this experiment. I hope the quality comes out well so we can keep doing these.
Yeah, although I'm going on my travels in about 2 weeks, so we might be doing some riversiding.
Yeah.
And then I'll be back in October, planning to live in a van, so we can do a podcast in a van. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Do you have any updates for us since last week?
Yeah. So last week after my DEXA scan results, I've been feeling better about it because people have reached out saying that don't worry bro, DEXA scans are unreliable.
Yeah, there was a YouTube comment saying
yeah.
people know these are unreliable or something.
And I hang out with my friend Jody Cook, who is an entrepreneur and also world champion powerlifter.
Okay.
He recently ranked 5th in the world in the women's bench press competitions.
Oh, nice.
Like as of about 2 weeks ago.
At the Olympics?
No, there was this other thing.
Okay.
But that wasn't in the Olympics. And she said, DEXA scans are unreliable a lot of the time. And another chap who I did a podcast with, Mike Thurston, said something about it kind of depends on your glycogen status in your muscles and stuff. So
Oh, okay, fine, yeah.
I can use that as my excuse.
Yeah.
Of I don't like the measurement, therefore therefore this time it's unreliable.
Yeah.
But since then I've decided to take my health into my own hands. I'm following the 5-3-1 for beginners workout plan.
Okay.
Which I got recommended on Reddit r/fitness.
Okay.
And I read the book, which is by this guy who's all of this screwing around in the gym with random shit. Really, it's just about the 4 main lifts: deadlift, squat, bench press, and overhead press.
But how does one make sense of these plans? Because I mean, we were into this stuff when we were 16, 17.
Like
I
strong
think
lifts,
strong
5x5.
lifts, the 5x5 thing was the thing.
Yeah.
There was another one called starting strength.
Yes.
There's I'm sure any of these are good.
Yeah.
Why haven't you just kept up with strong lifts 5x5 for the last 12 years?
Had I done, I'd be a lot more jacked than I currently am. The thing is, it's like any of these, the best plan is the one that you actually follow.
Okay.
What I didn't like about strong lifts is that every day you do squat day. every day is squat day.
Yeah.
And then, joining a gym that didn't have a barbell, traveling, all of this sort of stuff, getting different personal trainers. I think the key problem was that, my fitness coach Dango has been telling me for some time that, look man, just pick a plan, follow it, and when you hire a personal trainer, just get them to help you follow the plan. But I always felt really awkward about having the conversation with a personal trainer.
Okay.
Where I'd be like, no, but I can't say to the personal trainer, hey bro, I've got my own plan.
Bro, I found it on the internet.
Can you just help me follow it? Because I want them to they know what they're doing. I want them to do their stuff.
You want them to feel valued.
I want them to feel, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I realized, actually, forget about that. So actually for the last couple of sessions with my own personal trainer, Bernard, I said to Bernard, hey man, I want to do 5-3-1. And he's like, all right, great, let's do it. What exercises are we doing today? And I'm like, oh, that was easy. And it actually makes it, as I talk about in chapter 2 of Feel Good Productivity, when you take more responsibility over the things that you're trying to do, it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah.
It makes you a lot more likely to do it. Kind of like, how our friends who were taught piano when they were younger,
Yeah.
they have to learn repertoire that's not of their own choosing.
Yeah.
And they find it grim and not fun.
Yeah, then you end up stopping playing.
Yeah, whereas for you and me, because we picked up the piano further on, once we were a lot older, decided what kind of songs we wanted to play, and therefore, for us, piano is more interesting. I mean, it's only been a week so far, but I've already hit a personal record on deadlift and overhead press.
Nice.
My squat is improving, my bench is improving, hit a record on dumbbell bench press, which is one of the accessory exercises that this guy recommends in 5-3-1. And broadly, it's been really good, and I actually have a session with the later today as well. So all in all, that's been the health update. I've also started using an app called Protein Pal.
What's that?
Which is like MyFitnessPal, but it's just for tracking your protein.
Oh, really?
So you just set a protein goal of
But what's good
180
about
grams.
that? Why not just track the whole thing?
Because I find that calorie tracking is just too much of a faff. One of my principles for life is minimum viable systemization or something like that.
Sure, but you're still doing the same amount of data entry, and
it's not the same. It's like you really have to think a lot harder if you want to track the calories in particular. So for example, I can if I'm having like, I don't know, a chicken salad or something at home, I can roughly estimate that like the protein is, you know, a palm is about 4 ounces, which is about 30 grams.
Okay, you don't need to
Give
worry
or
about
take. I don't need to worry about like how much rice was that really?
Yeah,
how much
sure.
fat is technically in the oil in the blah blah blah.
Okay, fine.
If I get a protein shake, it's like cool. I just know that that one's 50 grams. If I get like a whatever of salmon along with veg and stuff, I'm just like cool. I'm just tracking the protein. If I get a sort of tuna sashimi or something at a sushi restaurant, I'm like cool. I'm just tracking the protein. I'm not worrying about the seaweed salad or about the rice or about the anything.
Yeah.
And I've realized, it's actually kind of hard to hit 180 grams a day. Like it doesn't happen accidentally.
Yeah. So that's like 2 and a bit grams per kilogram of body weight?
Yes. So I'm about 74 kg.
Okay, yeah.
So that's about 2.2 per kilogram.
Okay, yeah. So on this protein thing, so it seems like there's like one group of people on the longevity side.
Yeah.
That are all about this like blue zone
low protein
diet, not so much about the protein.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, there's like what Peter Attia says, which is like, yeah, you should actually get like 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
And then I've also, you know, I've been doing some digging on this blue zone stuff. There's a bunch of people saying like, oh, this whole blue zone centenarians thing, it's actually a load of like BS because like it's just really bad data. Like there's a lot of these like old people committing pension fraud and saying that they're like super old or whatever to get more pensions. Yeah, something like this. And so I haven't gone super deep down the rabbit hole, but like, yeah, have you explored that?
On the margin, no, I haven't really. I think so. Peter Attia's argument would be that.
Yeah, I think he has a blog post about it, but it's paywalled. So I haven't.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I'm going to sign up to his subscription very shortly.
Yeah, he has a blog post about like, here's why I've landed on like the high protein being better or something.
Yeah, my understanding of having not read that blog post, but having read his book, is that muscle mass is a massive determinant of quality of life and lifespan as you age, and muscle mass requires high protein, basically. Yeah. The David Sinclair argument, I think, is that, well, in some mice, if you put them on a low protein diet, low protein activates, I don't know, the mTOR cascade and blah, 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 and that causes cell autophagy, which causes you to age less quickly, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Peter Attia would say that on balance, it's better to have more muscle mass so that you don't like, so that you have a high quality of life as you age.
Okay, yeah.
And the studies in mice, like, you know, can they really translate to humans, etc., etc.
Okay.
But I will
I
sign up to Peter Attia's paywall and report back next week.
Yeah, I think intuitively, like, having more muscle mass feels like you'd be just more, you'd have more vigor.
Exactly.
Your life.
Vigor is what we're going for.
Yeah.
And I think the thing people often think is like, oh, I don't want to become jacked, or I don't want to be a bodybuilder. It's like, bro, good luck. Like,
You're not even
you don't accidentally.
Yeah.
I actually get this occasionally from our YouTuber Academy students where they're like, you know, I've got 3 subscribers on my channel, but like,
do I want to be the next Logan Paul?
I don't think I want to get that famous. You know, Ali, how many times do you get recognized? And I'm like, oh, maybe once or twice a day. And like, how is that in terms of? I'm like, bro, you don't need to worry about it. Like, if becoming so big on YouTube that you get to the point that you get recognized on the street becomes a problem, you can always deal with it then. But I think it's one of those.
Yeah, that's quite classic.
So I'm feeling pretty good about the health stuff, and.
Can we
weirdly,
check? Oh, sorry, no, go on.
Final thing on that point. I've actually been enjoying the gym more in the last week than I ever have before. Now that I'm following a workout plan and I have like specific numbers.
But surely your PT gave you some plan when you.
I mean, the PTs tend to sort of. They don't like. I mean, the PTs I've had in the past haven't like given me a plan. It's been more like, oh, I rock up to the session and they're like, all right,
let's do a bit of this.
We're going to do. Well, we're doing 3 times a week, so it's going to be upper, lower, upper, lower, lower. This is what we're doing, these are the numbers, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I do track them and stuff in my workout log. But the fact that I now know that my only real goal when it comes to fitness...
I just got on the grass, mate.
My only real goal when it comes to fitness is to increase these 4 main lifts.
Yeah.
And do that in a way that doesn't injure myself. That's actually quite nice to know. It's quite nice to have like specific goals in that sense. Because it feels like I'm training for something rather than just working out.
Okay.
Training for the centenarian decathlon is what it's called, not the centenarian Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the latest on the book front? So it's been 7 months since the book was published. What happened 7 months after publishing like a best-selling book? Like, what kind of opportunities have come your way? How has it like changed your business, your personal brand, just your sort of, your whole thing?
It hasn't changed anything very much.
Really? Because I thought the whole thing was like, you want to be able to say you're a New York Times bestseller, and that opens up lots of opportunities or something.
It does, but the opportunities that it opens up...
Is it just actually not that...
It's not
additive on top of your YouTube
fame
anyway?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they've got the YouTube channel anyway.
Yeah.
It opens up opportunities in that I'm getting more speaking gig requests than I ever have done before.
Okay, yeah.
And so companies like Google and Amazon and big companies are way more likely to want me to give a talk.
Okay.
The fact that I have a New York Times bestseller about productivity and sort of cements me as a productivity expert in a way that, he's got lots of followers on YouTube. Doesn't necessarily.
It's much more concrete.
But
do you do these talks and stuff, or you?
I don't really do them anyway, because it's like the avenues that I want to explore are currently not the avenues where having a New York Times bestselling book about productivity is actually helpful.
Yeah.
So one avenue, for example, is these corporate talks.
Yeah.
One avenue is if we were to do B2B corporate training and development type stuff.
Okay.
If we were to create an onboarding program for companies where it's like, hey, whenever you get new hires who've just graduated from uni, they never learn how to be productive in the workplace.
Yeah.
We will teach them how to be productive in the workplace just by or whatever. In that sense, then having the badge of like, oh, this is a New York Times bestselling author who's written about productivity is useful. But currently we're not going down that route.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how many more people sign up to something like Productivity Lab as a result of knowing that I've written a book about it.
Yeah.
Compared to the fact that I've been making YouTube videos for 7 years about the thing.
Like, do you think there are many people who haven't heard of you? Also, sorry, is that person completely naked?
Possibly.
We're in the park right now.
Oh no, he's wearing shorts. They're just hockey, so it looks like it's his skin.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you can see a belt, and you can see his hockey shorts.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think there are many people that like see your book as the first time they discover you or something? Like, has the book kind of
broken up?
Actually increased your surface area?
It's hard to know right now. So far, we've, from what we know, we've got about just over 200,000 sales.
Okay. Nice.
Worldwide, which is apparently quite good for the stage that we're at the moment.
Okay.
It's hard to know. I suspect probably it hasn't yet broken out of my core audience.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, like, that's kind of the thing with a book, is that you hope that if the book is actually good,
I thought like middle-aged mums and stuff like buy these kinds of books.
They do, but I'm not sure it's really broken out into that kind of market yet.
Okay.
I don't look at the reviews myself. I intend to at some point. But at the point where I start saying that, like, oh, this is the first time I've heard of Ali Abdaal, then it would be interesting to track.
What reviews? On Goodreads or something?
Goodreads and Amazon and stuff.
Okay,
yeah. But it's nice that it's now done. It's nice that it's in the background of videos. We splash it all over the website. Like, it is nice. And when I think about what I want to do with my life, I think, I like the idea of writing a book every few years. We're working on book 2 at the moment, in a very sort of like information gathering, researchy type phase of figuring out like what is it actually going to be.
But if the book, I mean, so far it seems like the book hasn't really changed your overall, business much.
No, not really.
What makes you interested in writing another one? Because I mean, I'm sure the process is enjoyable, but it was also a massive slog, right?
Yeah, I think future books I write, I don't want them to be a massive slog.
Yeah.
I want them to be a bit more chill. Parts of the process were enjoyable the first time around. I now know what that looks like, so I know how to make it enjoyable the second time around. It's also just like generally nice. One of my things is that if I didn't care about money, what would I do? I would want to teach people stuff. I would want to inspire people to build a life they love. And for example, the 4-hour work week had a massive impact on me and changed my life. Show Your Work by Austin Kleon had a massive impact on me and changed my life.
Yeah.
I can't really point to like Naval's tweet thread or a random YouTube video or a random email newsletter or a blog post that's changed my life. But I can point to books that have. Yeah. And so I think the nice thing about books is that like someone spends a lot of time with a book, they kind of take it a bit more seriously. And I think books as a vehicle for helping someone nudge themselves onto a new life trajectory.
Yeah.
Like The Pathless Path, for example.
Yeah.
I've been reading his newsletter for ages. But when he turned it,
Paul Millard.
Yeah, when he turned it into a book, that was when I was suddenly able to recommend it. Loads of people were able to do the thing. I've actually spoken to a bunch of people since in real life who have said, hey, I discovered The Pathless Path through you and that book changed my life.
Yeah.
No one said I discovered Paul Millard's newsletter, Substack, because of you and that Substack has changed my life.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot easier to point to that thing.
Yeah.
And so I just like the idea of that. When it
Yeah,
comes to
I think
writing
it does seem like the best way to sort of cement an idea in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise it's just kind of, you know, in the wind.
Yes, indeed. What's happening in your work life at the moment? Anything you're allowed to share?
Work life is pretty standard stuff. July was actually a record month for us.
Oh,
We had like, the highest sort of net new ARR, so like overall revenue increase was a record.
are you allowed to be open about your ARR, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're still pretty early stage, but yeah, no, I don't think I want to be like super transparent about numbers, but
Yeah.
July, alhamdulillah, was a record month. We had a lot of expansion as well.
What is expansion?
Just like existing customers who pay us more money over time.
Okay.
So that kind of offsets some of the people that are like leaving, and so metrics wise, you know, things are in a good place. I think we're still trying to. It doesn't always feel like it's in our control that much.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we have a really good month, like last month. Sometimes we don't. It's hard to directly tie it back to stuff that we're doing. Like obviously all the stuff we're doing is making a difference over the medium to long term, but it would be great if we had, you know, some kind of marketing channel where we can predictably say, hey, if we do X, Y, and Z on like this channel this month, then it will lead to, you know, some, you know, this much revenue 2 months down the line or 3 months down the line or something.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it feels kind of random at the moment.
we haven't kind of.
You haven't cracked your growth levers.
Yeah, we
as
haven't.
Matt Lerner would say.
Yeah, we haven't cracked a growth lever in that sense. So that's the main thing we're trying to figure out.
Okay, nice. How is your posting on LinkedIn going?
Mate, I've low-key fallen off a bit.
I see your posting on Twitter has been going well.
Yeah, so I went viral on Twitter yesterday.
Oh,
I'm up
how
to
did that
like.
happen?
I mean, I just posted. I mean, there's this kind of meme doing the rounds at the moment of like the in the Olympic shooting. There's like the Korean. Well, there's like everyone else who has like some high-tech goggles and some like earmuffs and all this kind of fancy equipment. And then there's the guy from Turkey who won silver medal, who's just like, this looks like a dad who wears glasses, who's just like standing there with his hand in his pocket. And so I think, a lot of people will riff it. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man. I was probably for like, 24 to 48 hours, I was trying to think of like a good meme of that format.
Yeah.
And then I finally got it.
What did you come up with?
Um,
And what was the story behind the creativity of the meme?
I mean, I was just trying to think of stuff, and I mean, what I came up with is that the kind of try hard with like all the gear and stuff is like the more junior person at a company who's like, oh dear so and so, sorry for the delay, thank you for whatever, please find this thing attached, I look forward to, let me know if there's any questions, I look forward to hearing back from you, kind regards, whatever. That's like the try hard, fully maxed out on gear thing. And then the kind of enlightened guy who's just like shooting with his hand in his pocket is like the exec who just replies like, okay, or like, thanks, like THX, and then it's sent from my iPhone, which I think is quite a relatable experience for people, because I think junior people tend to like be much more verbose and like, sort of very polite and, this kind of stuff, whereas I think senior people and execs, I think they just don't need to worry about it. People like that. But to be honest, I think in the previous era of Twitter it would have been different. I think now it just feels a bit like it just feels like you're at the mercy of the algorithm. Like my thing broke out and I got like 130k likes, but it just felt like yeah, whatever. I mean, the algorithm's just kind of like, I don't know, I didn't feel like it stopped feeling like my own tweet, to be honest. I think a few years ago on Twitter, if you got to that, like, if you went viral, it would have felt like, oh man, like this is sick. And okay, here's the other thing. 130 likes ended up with me gaining like 10 more followers.
Oh wow.
Okay.
And that was like 3.1 million impressions so far.
Yeah. There's like over 3 million impressions, but I got like 10 more followers.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying this as like, oh, I want to get more followers. I'm saying this as like, it's just kind of commodity content. It's commodity content in like the factory farm, Yeah, I think you kind of, it kind of makes you realize, oh damn, I'm just like a factory farm chicken, you know, just producing this shit, for, you know, for Elon. And like, yeah, sure, sure, everyone's like eating my eggs. Like, it's not actually, you know, they're just eating an egg. They're not eating my egg.
Yeah,
you know?
good point. That's
You know?
interesting.
Whereas I think a few years ago, like even, you know, tweets that didn't go nearly as viral as that. Like if I got like 1K likes, I'd get like, you know, 100 new followers or something like this. And so you kind of feel like, oh, cool, like, you know, people
actually care about me.
People are resonating with like
People care about this chicken.
this chicken, yeah, my egg.
This spring chicken.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I had to mute it like relatively quickly just because the notifications were blowing up. And then yeah, you just see the numbers going up.
How does that feel when the notifications start to blow up?
Yeah, it's kind of fun at the start. I mean, there's a few people who I look up to comedically, where once I get those likes, I'm pretty satisfied.
Okay. Like Ali Abdaal.
Ali Abdaal's up there. Matt Clifford is up there.
Yeah.
Once I get the Matt Clifford like,
Yeah.
I'm sorted. I'm basically happy to mute notifications at that point.
He's like, yes.
It's always fun if like someone I know in real life likes a tweet. So like some people had posted on some group chats of like, oh, you know, sick tweet, man, or something.
Yeah.
And some meme page, some pretty random meme pages on Instagram actually posted it.
Yeah.
There's some like meme page for like people who work in the music industry, like music producers memes kind of thing.
Yeah.
They posted it, and you know, someone shared this on a group chat. There's a big, just generally famous meme page called Memezar. They've got like 24 million followers on Instagram that posted it. But again, it doesn't feel like your thing. It's like great, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a pure, you know, commodity content.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Okay, so question. So is it sort of like if you were to create a You've Been Framed kind of thing, or like do a viral stunt or something that featured people that were not you, and people are like, oh, ha ha ha, hilarious, 5-second video.
Yeah, it's basically like that. It's like that rather than like if
you
did a podcast
if you created
or
the
a blog
next
post.
like how to get rich without getting lucky tweet thread.
Yeah, I think it's.
And if that got 3.1 million impressions, you'd feel more like, oh, people are vibing with my thoughts.
Yes, yeah.
Rather than this is just a.
Rather than like, I got in early on this meme format. Yeah, I had a good joke, but like, you know, probably like 20 other people made the same joke, and the algorithm, you know, didn't favor them that day.
Yeah.
And you know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll still be memeing out there, but yeah, it doesn't. You know, it's not as fulfilling as I once thought it would be. You know.
Yeah, mate. Have I told you about my cow analogy?
No. Is it like my chicken analogy?
It's like your chicken analogy, yeah. So I've been saying that I first busted this out to the team in like October last year, and now it's become a running joke in the company. In the company.
Okay.
Where I said to the team that I feel like a cow, where initially I'm like producing milk on my own because I enjoy I enjoy the production of milk.
Yep.
And then over time I realized that the milk is tasty, or people seem to like the taste of the milk.
Yeah.
And then over time people seem to be wanting to pay lots of money for that milk.
Okay.
And I'm like, great. And then I think, cool, because the milk is so tasty and people are paying all this money for it, why don't I build a farm, an industrial milking apparatus around my own udders, and voluntarily go into this machine once a week to be milked repeatedly.
Oh God.
And
so to speak.
Yes, yeah. Of course. And as this industrial milking apparatus is forming around me, you know, the overheads of the farm now increase.
Yeah.
And now in order to sustain the farm, I have to continue to be milked.
Yeah.
At least once or twice a week, if not more times, because hey, I've built this industrial milking apparatus around myself now, and so can't let it starve.
Yeah.
That kind of idea. And so now there's a running joke every time we have a filming day, where Tintin or Holly or whoever's sort of filming with me on the day will post a big update in Slack. And like, it's been a good day on the Ali Abdaal farm today. The cow was feeling in a good mood, and we produced 4 pints of whatever. And Holly's vegan, so she then turned it into. And it's been a good day at Holly's vegan farm. We produced 4 gallons of frothy oat milk. And then we had a monthly town hall like 2 days ago, where Addy, one of our editors, used my AI voice thing to talk about to do a little video edit of like a farm. So where the voice was. Welcome to Ali's farm. The cow has been feeling happy this month. The cow has filmed 12 videos. Congratulations to everyone in the team. And it's like my voice, just
that's
slightly off with AI.
Yeah.
And so the cow thing is like, yeah.
That's pretty funny, yeah.
I get it, bro.
But yeah, do you feel like now with I mean, look, I don't know what videos you're putting out these days.
You don't?
But like, does it...
Take that back.
Does it, when you put out a video now, you know, a few years ago when you put out like your iPad video, right?
Yeah.
Like your what was it, like how I'm productive on my iPad or whatever. Like that was an early banger of yours.
Yep.
You were like, you know, it was like a big thing in your life. You're like, you know, you started using this iPad, you loved it, you like crafted this video, it really resonated with people. And I think, I guess, like it felt like, oh, these people are connecting with me through this video in some sense.
Yep.
Is it still like that? Like when you're putting out a video, I mean, from my understanding, the YouTube algorithm now actually cares a lot less about who's posted the video, and a lot more about just actually how good is the video. So like someone could show up on YouTube tomorrow, 0 subscribers, make an incredible video. The algorithm would somehow like, show it to enough people to figure out that this is a sick video, and that video can end up getting like 20 million views, with 0 subscribers.
Sure.
And so it feels like kind of, I guess it feels like kind of the same thing as the Twitter viral tweet thing, where like it's just not about you anymore. You're just actually producing slop, you know, for the conveyor belt.
To an extent. So I think if I had a channel where I was just trying to create viral shorts, where I was just ripping content from other people's or from B-roll, putting an AI voiceover on it, all that kind of stuff, then yes, it would feel like I'm just producing slop. I still feel good when a video does well and when people like a video, in particular if it's truly original content.
Okay.
So we did a video like, I don't know, how to make 10K a month as a student. And I thought the content of the video was really good, but I wasn't too happy with the framing of it because it feels a bit like, oh God, you know, it's yet another one of those like how to make money on the internet type videos.
Yeah.
Stay in the shade. And that did really well. But I did another video called, you know, my honest advice for someone who wants financial freedom.
Was that the 40 minutes one?
Yeah, where I just hit record, talk for 43 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's gotten like 1.7 million views in the last like 3 months or something absurd like that.
Okay.
And that feels really good because that was like pure kind of sort of channeling the creative spark.
Yeah.
And like speaking from the heart, not much prep, not much over-engineering that went into that. We didn't think too hard about the title and the thumbnail. I didn't hire a researcher to go and like bring up some stats about like how much the S&P's increased in the last like 10 years. Or something. And it felt really good. It's like, oh, this thing that I've just sort of come up with that I think is helpful is actually being seen by all these people. And a bunch of people messaged me being like, oh bro, that was sick. Similarly, I did a video about how our keyboard project completely flopped. And loads of people in real life so other creators and entrepreneurs have said to me, hey, by the way, I watched your keyboard video. That was amazing. Like, you know, keep doing stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
It's so good that you went behind the scenes and showed the numbers and stuff. So one thing that we think about is what's the video that only we can make? How to make 10K a month as a student online. The way that was done, I think, was somewhat unique, but it, sort of a video researching what dopamine is on the brain. That's not a video that only we can make. But a video that going from my own personal experience about how I built a business or whatever. That's a video only I can make, and that feels way more satisfying and fulfilling than producing the slop for the algorithm. Which could have been churned out by anyone, really.
Okay, nice, so I think my tweet felt a bit like algorithm slop. Rather than like some serious, I mean, I think because like there was this format, and to be honest, like other people had done memes of this form before, right? Like there's that one of like my dad's keyboard. Okay, it's like the caption is like my dad's keyboard, and then it's like a phone keyboard. But like all of the keys are the thumbs up emoji except O and K. And like the joke is basically that like dads just do these like really short replies saying okay, thumbs up. So like it, you know, if I felt like I had, you know, really tapped into something, you know, something novel, I think, and that went viral, I think I would have felt pretty good about it. But it was fine.
It's like, I feel like at some point a few years ago we talked about the Excel and incel meme.
Oh yeah,
and sort of if you trace back the history of it, you see sort of the iterative process at work on like 4chan or something, and how ultimately someone came up with that meme. But you see like it was built up through like these repeated iterations of that idea.
So that was my viral tweet basically.
That's very good. What about your, how do you feel about the fact that you're a LinkedIn hack these days?
I don't mind it. I think it's kind of what you were talking about, where I think there's like LinkedIn video clips I can do where, I think the ones that perform the best and the ones where I feel like I'm genuinely contributing to the discourse and like to the, you know, to the arena is where I'm sharing like some truly, you know, hard-earned insights that isn't just like, me creating Slop for the feed. It's like, hey, we went through this thing. Here are like specific numbers around it. Like this is stuff that like, you know, most people would not be saying. So, you know, we had one of our successful ones was about how we made a big mistake and paid $60,000 for a Salesforce contract that we got locked into for like 3 years or something. And like why that was a mistake and stuff like this. And like there's not that many people talking at that level of detail about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it did really well. And you know, I think
Salesforce were thrilled.
yeah, so I think that kind of stuff is good. But then, you know, frankly, there have been other videos where like, you know, I just haven't sort of had any done any prep for the filming session. And so like we just go, we're like, look, the camera's here.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna film something.
5 TED Talks that will change your life.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, just like less, you know, less intentional stuff. So
I like that. Hard-earned insights feel good.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this is the thing. Like we sometimes call it in our YouTuber Academy, by the way, ptya.com if anyone wants to sign up. Proof of work.
Yeah, proof of work. Yeah,
like
exactly.
when you display proof of work.
Yeah.
Someone like Johnny Harris does that by it just being really obvious that he and his team have done loads of research into like a thing.
Yeah.
And he'll show that like, hey, you know, have you ever wondered why McDonald's ice creams are always broken? Well, we've been through the 600 pages of the McDonald's like supply, and he'll plop it out on the so you're like, oh, whoa. He's probably, you know, got loads of blank pages in there, but you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a way of sort of showing proof of I think step 1 is actually doing the work, and step 2 is showing that you have done the work.
Yeah.
Because I think increasingly in a world of AI-enabled content and stuff, it's those hard-earned personal insights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That could not have been written by an AI.
Yeah.
That'll really do it. I was going to say, oh yeah, you had a theory about like future of the creator economy as it relates to expertise and like the rest is politics. A few months ago we were talking about this.
Yeah.
We were share that.
Yeah.
We were talking about curators versus creators and...
Oh, yeah. So I think, I'd say like when we started the podcast in like 2019, it was kind of a different era where like anyone with not much expertise, if they just like put stuff out there, if they curate other people's stuff, you know, there's actually not that many like really high quality podcasts on any given topic. And so even if you're basically, you know, Joe Schmo, you can, you know, just create a high quality podcast that basically curates content around a specific topic, and you can kind of like get on that treadmill and reach some level of success. But I think, again, now that like a lot of people have done that, and that's become a lot more saturated, where for example, like there's so many podcasts that are basically like the sort of interview format where like and interview format where like the podcaster is interviewing some person, you know, podcasts like Lex Friedman, like you know, Dwarkesh, like you know, I guess it's kind of the Tim Ferriss sort of format. Like there's lots of people now doing that format, and it's become you know, it's become industrialized in the way that you talked about your milking situation.
Yes.
It's become industrialized where anyone who has something they want to promote, like if someone's just written a book, they will go on the podcast circuit, and they will talk about basically the same idea on Chris Williamson, and the same idea on, you know, the next guy, and the same idea on the next guy. And, you know, there are still bigger and smaller ones of these, like Lex Friedman is big, Tim Ferriss is big, there are like smaller ones, but it is this kind of industrialized circuit basically. And I think that kind of, I think if you're like, you know, an amazing interviewer or something, or you genuinely have like, you know, something that you as an interviewer are really bringing to the table, like maybe there's room for a few more of, you know, podcasts of that format. But like when I'm looking for content, it's like, I feel like I'm gravitating towards the stuff where it is very hard to repeat, and there is like true sort of unique proof of work. So for example, currently the biggest podcast in the UK, I believe, is The Rest is Politics, with Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell, both of whom have been like career politicians over the last, you know, few decades, both of whom like you couldn't just, you know, if I was Joe Schmo, who wanted to like, you know, get passive income or something. I could not start a podcast that rivals that, but I think I could start a podcast of the interview format, you know? And so, yeah, I feel like that previously in the era when we started the podcast, I think the old guard of media, you know, there's obviously like incredible people out there, right? Like, you know, people who have their own talk shows like Conan and stuff like this, right? There's like all sorts of experts in all sorts of industries. These people were generally above the age of 40 and not really paying attention to YouTube and podcasting as like as a thing that serious people do. And so there was kind of this vacuum that was being filled by younger people who generally have less interesting things to say and less value to add, I think, in a lot of cases. Younger people could fill that vacuum with like this more curation style thing and providing a platform to these other people. But I think now that vacuum's kind of been filled, and the old guard, you know, people like Mehdi Hassan, for example, where, you know, they've been in the arena, you know, in his case, in like politics, and like news and the just general like media arena. They've been in that arena for a very long time. Like they're clearly, each of these people is like N of one in terms of the personal brand that they've built. I'd say like in 2018, 2019, if I were like Conan or Mehdi Hassan, it would seem like much less of a live option for me of like, you know, maybe I should leave the network television talk show, you know, where I get this steady paycheck and all of this kind of stuff, because I could start a podcast where I can, all of the value of my personal brand can actually accrue to me rather than to the network or something. And so I think now, yeah, just more people in the old guard of media who are N of one, they are doing podcast stuff. So for example, Conan ditched his like actual TV show to do a podcast. He enjoys it a lot more. It looks like he's kind of building this podcast network around it. I think I was doing some cooking yesterday and I wanted to listen to just like a fun sort of podcast. So like Conan is my go-to for like fun comedy podcast. And Woody Harrelson, who's another like famous actor, and some other guy have started a podcast in Conan's network of podcasts, you know, about some stuff. And so, yeah, I think like, I don't know if I think maybe Dwarkesh called the last plane out of Vietnam or something, but like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of like a tech bro who has an interview style podcast.
Right.
But like, you know, high quality, I haven't seen loads of them, but like, he's big enough that I've heard of it. Yeah. High quality enough and high profile enough that he gets big guests. But I think Tony Blair was on his podcast recently, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think there's just like much less room for just generally like smart, motivated person who wants to enter the arena. I think it's going to be harder to do that because the sort of 40-year-olds and above who have genuinely unique things to say and unique access to information that the rest of us don't. Those people are now entering the same arena. So you can't just do this like technology arbitrage where like, yeah, the rest of the world hasn't discovered that you can do like build some shitty drop shipping business. You know, like it's, you know, the market is like much more liquid now.
Yeah, I very much vibe with that. I think there will always be room for very good curators as well.
Do you agree with what I'm saying about like the Tim Ferriss podcast format is like the curation?
Yeah.
Format.
Yeah, I guess so. I think you're kind of seeing this in sort of mainstream entertainment YouTube as well. Like over time, Mr. Beast videos approximate a TV show from like the 90s or the 2000s.
Oh yeah, I was thinking this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Whereas initially, like he's sort of like saying Logan Paul 100,000 times. Or reading the dictionary from A to Z, and it's a 28-hour-long video.
That is proof of work, man.
Or he's like giving money to a homeless man on the street or whatever.
Yeah.
But now increasingly it's like, hey, let's do this big stunt. Let's hire this TV production crew. Let's hire this production studio. Yeah. And it just so happens to be on YouTube.com rather than on like, I don't know.
Yeah, man, I was watching one of these like science YouTube channels where they like explain some like just like sciencey thing.
Yeah.
And it was like super high production value. They'd like clearly gone through a lot of effort. They clearly had a big team around this. And I was like, oh, this is like so cool. I'm like learning about this physics thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, am I basically watching the Discovery Channel? And like,
The
am I
Discovery
watching,
Channel from 1995.
Am I watching channel 750 out of 1000 on on the shitty Skybox? Like, is that what? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's the whole like book publishing thing as well. I think the thing that makes it still attractive for Joe Schmo is that you do still see breakout hit stories. Like back in the day, a 17-year-old writing an erotic fantasy fiction novel could not have really broken free. They would have needed a publishing deal, etc.
Yeah.
But now, because of TikTok, that person can in fact become a multi-New York Times bestselling author and become a sort of multi-millionaire.
Well, is this a real person
within like 2 years?
About?
Yeah.
There is a 17-year-old who wrote.
I'm not sure if she's 17.
I'm
not sure if she's 17, but like there's like a few different examples of people in the sort of the 15 to 30 range, age 15 to 30, who are doing this sort of stuff.
But I think the point is like you can't follow a format.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's no industry for like 17-year-olds writing erotic fiction or something. I mean, I hope there isn't anyway. But like, you know, it's not industrialized in the way that like starting a podcast of a certain format is industrialized.
I actually think it's increasingly becoming industrialized.
What?
So
even these like super niche things.
So I keep an eye on the erotic fiction industry. It's interesting. So like 5 years ago, around 2019, I had this random guy who lives in the US. He's like a college student. He came to hang out with me in Cambridge because I had an offer where you could, you know, I'll just treat anyone to a coffee. And he was working in like an Amazon warehouse in like Chicago or something. But on the side, he was writing erotic fiction for women and publishing it on Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP.
Okay.
I think it was called CreateSpace at the time. And he was making like 4 figures a month passive income from churning out this format of novel of like enemies to lovers, or you know, that kind of idea. Slapping like.
I've never heard the enemies to lovers.
Oh, dude, enemies to lovers. The enemies to lovers is a trope within fiction of like.
Oh, okay, sure.
You know.
Yeah.
You've seen it in like rom-coms. Yeah, that kind of idea.
That's on the tin, yeah.
And slapping a dude with 6-pack abs, which was often actually Chris Williamson.
Wait, really? Chris Williamson was like the male model.
Chris Williamson's abs have been on a lot of these, where you don't see the face, you just see the abs. Yeah, Chris was saying this to me. He was like, yeah, his abs are like weirdly famous.
He probably feels a bit like my tweet going viral.
It's not his abs anymore.
It's not my face, yeah. It's just abs.
Yeah, so Chris's abs are often on the cover of these things. It's like, you know, there's sort of some unnamed woman caressing the man's like stubble or something. You don't really see the face, and it's like a format. And what I'm seeing from the little that I've researched about this is that this is becoming industrialized in the same way that Tech Bro interview podcast is becoming industrialized.
Yeah.
Well, actually, but I think now there is a wild card in here that actually gives Joe Schmo more of a chance for their stuff to go big.
Okay, let's just. I think I would characterize Joe Schmo as like, let's say, smart and motivated. Let's just say like college student who like ideally wants to like just do their own thing.
23-year-old medical student who wants to create videos about productivity.
yeah.
Kind of thing. Circa 2017, I think that works. Circa 2024, I really don't think that works.
Yeah, so on the industrialization point, I mean, one thing I have noticed, and look, this is not some like, you know, novel insight or whatever, is that the sort of let's just call it I don't want to be like derogatory because I'm not trying to be derogatory, but like let's just call it the Tim Ferriss format, where it's like interviews with someone who knows about something.
Sure.
I think that it seems like, you know, the sort of let's say dozen or 2 dozen people who are like up there with the Tim Ferriss format. I think we have to turn around. Oh no, we can go. The dozen or 2 dozen people who are like big with the Tim Ferriss format. So, you know, people like Tim Ferriss, Chris Williamson, Dwarkesh,
Dario
Vecchio, you know, these kinds of people. Like maybe there is room for like a couple of dozen where like each person obviously has like a different area of interest, right? Like, you know, it seems like you can kind of sort of see like the political leanings of each person kind of coming into play, where I think like so someone like Chris Williamson, his vibe seems to, and like the kind of guests and topics and you know, the kind of stuff that seems to interest him is like, you know, slightly, you know, heterodox, kind of like unwoke / anti-woke, like, you know, trying to push back against that sort of ideology. a bit, whereas there's going to be like, I mean, sort of Lex Friedman has his own like vibe and his own like take on things that he's kind of, you know, he interviews within that.
Yep.
So like maybe there is room for like a bunch of these, but like I don't.
How do we get out of this children's playground? This is kind of weird. Okay. Let me go back the way we came. Maybe this way?
Oh yeah, maybe this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we do about having kids in the background of the pod?
Okay, no, that's
we
locked.
can't get out.
Okay, let's go this way. Okay, so you come on my this side.
Okay.
So that this is in the middle of us.
Yeah. Just don't get the kids in the shot.
Things you do for a walking podcast.
Yeah. So like, I think there's probably room for, you know, a bunch of these Tim Ferriss style podcasts with a slightly different flavor on each.
Yeah.
And like slightly different people will do the circuit of like 5 or 6 that are like most relevant to their like, you know, sphere or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what do you think, like the sort of the you of like 5 years ago? Was it 5? How long has it been? 6? Like when you were like 23, and you're like, okay, I want to like have this business or whatever, you know, make some, just like, look, I'm a smart, hardworking guy. I want to like build something for myself that can like make some money, and like, you know, be like a sort of foundation for my various pursuits. You probably, I mean, you're saying like your productivity medical student thing wouldn't have really worked. But it seems like there are people still doing that stuff.
No,
like
I think
occasionally I get recommended some video from like some YouTube channel that has like 200k subs, which is basically some like student at uni talking. I mean, doing some of the stuff as you were doing a few years ago.
Yeah, I think that still works, to be honest. I think I think it's becoming more competitive because more and more students at uni recognize that they could do this as a thing.
Yeah.
I think the nice thing about that market is that a 35-year-old does not actually have the same value to add as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, I guess the 19-year-old is adding unique value.
In that context, youth is an advantage rather than a disadvantage.
Yeah.
The challenge that I see with people, because I know a lot of these people, is how do you sustain that beyond university?
Yeah.
If your entire audience is students and your whole brand is built on life as a student, it's really hard.
Then you have to get meta about, okay,
yeah,
I've done life as a student. I guess I've built this content business. I guess I now talk about running a content business.
Yeah, you could go
that's
down
kind
that
of where that happens, right?
Or you could kind of broaden out to be like, okay, built life as a student, now I'm going to go life as a young professional. Now I'm going to do productivity for young professionals because no one teaches that. I see a gap in the market, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think all of that is still possible, it's still doable. It's just like every year the competition
gets higher.
Yeah, it just goes up. But even so, like, I was thinking this back in like 2020 when pandemic was happening and everyone and their dog was starting a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And everyone and their dog was interested in productivity.
Okay.
And if we look at, initially I was really worried. I was like, whoa, there's all these people who are doing the thing. If you look 4 years later, like 98% of them have not been sufficiently consistent to actually stick with it.
Yeah.
And I think the stick with itness is a competitive advantage.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Last man standing is actually a viable strategy.
But there's still like 10 times more people that are starting and therefore that are sticking with it. Even if it's like small numbers overall, it's still like much more competitive.
Yeah. And I think especially with the whole AI stuff, like eventually editing is going to be fully AI'd. That's currently still a thing that takes people 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
And like fundamentally, like time is people's limiting factor, and time will always be people's limiting factor. But as content becomes more and more commoditized, as it becomes easier to use CapCut with the AI thing to create a pretty good first draft edit, as it becomes easier to use something like VoicePal to write when you're on the move, all of that kind of stuff lowers the barrier to entry, which means that it's no longer just the fact that you have done the work, which inherently stands out.
Yeah.
You have to do work on top of the basic work of creating the video in order to stand out. And I think increasingly, like, time is essentially equivalent to money in that one can be traded for the other.
Yeah.
So if you are Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell and you can get podcast sponsors from day one, you can get a studio from day one. You don't need to worry about your own editing. You've got a producer. You've got someone doing the research. You've got a guest booker. You've got the whole you've got the whole farm created from day one. If you're Diary of a CEO, you've got the whole farm created from day one because you're rich, you know, and you can just afford to hire like 30 people for your team, even when your podcast is a loss leader. So that you're almost like a startup. You're burning cash initially to get it off the ground, and then you're sort of blitzscaling over time.
Yeah.
It's so hard for like a normal person to be able to compete in that market.
Yeah.
And so the advice I generally give, and I would follow if I were in that position, is to just go hyper niche. Whenever someone in our YouTube Academy is like, hey, I've got a YouTube channel, I'm thinking of starting a podcast. I'm like, oh, what sort of podcast? It's always going to be an interview podcast.
Yeah.
Interviewing other people. Oh, about what? About personal development, productivity, and business.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, good luck.
Good luck competing with me.
please don't do that. It's like, I have even stopped doing my podcast because I cannot compete with like Stephen Bartlett and Chris Williamson.
Okay.
And, it's like, to be in the arena and playing at a high level is so ridiculously hard. That I have like thrown in the towel when it comes to the podcast. I'm like, you know what, whatevs. My deep dive podcast is now going to be a fun thing like Not Overthinking is.
Yeah.
Inconsistent upload schedule, whatevs. I'll just chat to people if they're in town and we've got something fun to talk about. I'm only going to talk about the topics that interest me. I'm not going to bother over engineering anything.
Yeah.
Because I've just sort of bowed out of that particular fight.
Yep.
And it's not like fight is the wrong word because it's not really a competition, but it also kind of is a competition.
Yeah.
Because
it's definitely a competition, right?
Yeah.
There's limited attention out there.
Yeah.
So with your coming back to the book thing, so you see books as like the way to cement whatever idea you've been cooking up, just cement that in the zeitgeist, have something people can point to.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something that people can go deep on that changes
It's less
their
about
life.
cementing in the zeitgeist, but more about something people can go deep on that changes their life.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I think there's something around like physical objects that people own. We want to do like a deal with Baron Fig to create a pen or a journal or something.
Is that a pen company?
Pen and journal company, they're very cool. Or a deal with Peak Design in a dream world to create our custom line of backpacks. It's just kind of nice. We've got these D brand skins on the laptops and stuff, which I very occasionally see around the world, and that's like kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think.
So like, so that's your So I feel like I understand the book, the strategy around the book. What is YouTube for you at the moment? Like, what kind of videos are you putting out? Like, what alpha do you feel like you currently have on YouTube? I mean, obviously you've got a massive following, but like it seems like that is actually less important.
Yeah.
Like,
I think a lot of this comes down to 1,000 true fans. I think a lot of it comes down to.
Yeah, but you already have way more than 1,000.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that's fundamentally what it comes down to.
Okay, so you just care about getting more true fans rather than just.
I don't even care about getting more true fans as such. I care about continuing to play the infinite game where I can make money, have fun, and help people.
Yeah, but to continue doing that, you do need to have some alpha. For example, you realize I don't have any alpha when it comes to the deep dive podcast, because like someone like Chris Williams, that's his main thing.
Yeah.
He can just do it way better than me.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So the alpha that I've got is so we're trying to do a couple of different things. One is that we are trying to dissociate business revenue from me and from my views on YouTube and my popularity on YouTube.
So how do you do that? Because I think a few years ago you'd started thinking, I really like the business not to be attached to my name somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for example, we have now split up philosophically our team into 3 parts. We have the Ali Abdal Media team, the content team. We have ptya.com, which is the part-time YouTuber academy. And we have productivitylab.com, which is the productivity lab.
Yeah.
And at the moment, all of the customers from those products come from me.
Yeah.
But over time, as we build an SEO strategy, affiliates, influencer, ads that don't necessarily involve me, as we get case studies and testimonials of our students.
So PTY can just be its own business.
It can be its own business where I am then dissociated from leads and also dissociated from fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I then rock up as and when I feel like it to like do a talk or like, oh, we do an annual conference for YouTubers. Great, I'll be the host or the keynote speaker or whatever the thing might be.
Yeah, that seems good.
But
how do you do it on YouTube?
Software like VoicePal, I don't do it on YouTube.
Okay.
So the way I think of it, the way I'm thinking of it is the Ali Abdal media arm, like the content arm, will just always be attached to my personal brand. And that's fine. It's never going to be. It's never going to have enterprise value. It's never going to sell.
Yeah.
And I can see myself wanting to do it forever.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I can imagine myself like even 20 years from now, if there's a video platform, I quite like talking.
Yeah.
Over time, I'll become more experienced and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just keep talking.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as there's a market for it.
Yeah.
It's like
But you want to build like more sort of independent businesses.
Yeah. And that's
to generate money.
Sort of the point of things like VoicePal, which is launching next week. So the social media launch.
Did we talk about VoicePal last time? Do you want to just give a quick spiel?
I'll give a quick spiel. There'll be a link down below if anyone wants to check it out. But actually, so Pablo, my co-founder on this, who's our friend, came up with like a sick way to describe VoicePal. Because initially when we started VoicePal, the idea was, can we do an AI audio transcription type thing, kind of like Otter, but can we do it a bit better, a bit lower friction, make it easier to sort of create content on the go? Maybe people would use it for journaling. It was this sort of vague sense. And based on that vague sense, Pablo's a third-time founder. He's working we've got a very experienced designer and a very experienced developer on the team, who previously had worked at like the Facebooks of the world and because they've been very disciplined in really spending a lot of time talking to users, doing loads of like 20 hours of user interviews every week, that whole shebang. The users have basically landed us on what the product actually is. And what the product is a ghostwriter in your pocket. Like people independently started using the word ghostwriter and we're like, oh, that's it, that's what this is.
Nice.
And a ghostwriter does three things. Number one, it listens to you.
Yeah.
Number two, a ghostwriter asks you sensible follow-up questions.
Yeah.
And number three, they write whatever you're saying up as a first draft that sounds exactly like you.
Okay.
And those are the three things that VoicePal does. You could hire a ghostwriter for $5,000 a month,
Yeah.
like these billionaires and CEOs and celebrities and stuff do.
Yeah.
Or you could pay $7 a month for a VoicePal,
Yeah.
which gives you like 90% of the value of an actual in-person ghostwriter
Yeah.
with like 500x less capital expenditure
Yeah.
and way less faff of having a human following you around with a recording device
Yeah.
and having to go away and type up the things. So VoicePal is in some
That
ways
sounds epic, mate. I love the pitch. That's great.
the ghostwriter for people who can't afford a ghostwriter, or like the
Say
ghostwriter in your pocket.
Yeah.
Or your pocket ghostwriter. It's like we're playing around with that. And yesterday, me, Pablo, and Aaron were filming a bunch of ads for it. And I've never really filmed ads before.
Like a video ad.
Yeah, like a video ad, social media ads, that kind of thing.
Like a sort of sandwich video type thing.
Yeah, but like a really low budget version
Sure,
of that.
Yeah.
And that was really, really fun. It felt way more creative than making a YouTube video. To be thinking, okay, cool, like, can we do a skit where it's like half of the screen is life before VoicePal and the other half of the screen is life after VoicePal.
Oh, nice.
And so we'll start off with me waking up
yeah.
in the morning, brushing my teeth, going downstairs, and then it diverges into like the parallel universes where one is like, I'm like on the laptop, on the table, all depressed and miserable.
Yeah.
You see the Google Doc, blanking cursor, blank page.
Yeah,
and I'm like lying on the sofa,
that's
scrolling
sick.
TikTok,
That's epic.
reading my book to try and get some inspiration, putting it down. You still see, I write chapter one and then I delete everything, backspace. And in the other universe, it's like life after VoicePal.
You're going for a walk in
I
the
go
park.
for a walk in Regent's Park. We
Yeah.
filmed me walking around like here.
Yeah, you're just like talking into
I'm talking into my AirPods.
Yeah.
You see the stuff, and at the end of it, you see something like 10,000 steps, 2,000 words.
Oh,
30
dude.
steps, 0 words,
Yeah.
or something that really signifies like this is what life is with with that VoicePal.
Oh, dude, that sounds
And like
amazing.
I've never done anything like that on YouTube before
That's epic.
because I just sit and talk to the camera and
Yeah.
chat shit. But this felt really fun.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of Instagram ads because I don't see ads on YouTube because of YouTube Premium, obviously.
Yeah.
But I still see Instagram ads.
Yeah.
And there are some super creative like course seller type people doing some sick ads on Instagram where I'm like, I'm actually just watching the thing. And I'm like, wow, this is so engaging, it's so nice,
Yeah,
it's so fun. And we could totally do that. We have the industrial apparatus in place to be able to do that.
Yeah.
If all it takes is that initial creative spark. And now I'm
that
really
sounds
excited
awesome.
about the ads thing on VoicePal. And there, of course, there are a bunch of competitors. There's 2 companies we were looking at, both of whom are paid subscribers to VoicePal and are building basically a clone, which is fine. But I think the advantage we have is distribution.
Yeah.
And so I'm like really excited about that the software side.
Yeah.
We're on, I think 100k ARR at the moment, so like 8.3k a month.
Nice.
And the goal is to get to 1 million ARR by the end of the year.
Awesome.
And we'll see if that works. Pablo's pretty confident that we could do that. But it all depends on how the launch goes next week.
Yeah.
And
Wait, so is the ad going live next week?
I mean, it's not really. We'll just post it as like a couple of Instagram reels
Okay.
and like a Twitter video and stuff. And then we'll see with like putting paid ad spend behind some of these.
Yeah.
And being able to track cohorts and like whether they came in through paid or through organic, or how cold was the audience when they came in.
Yeah.
What's the messaging that works? What's the first line that works? Is it like, hey, if you're a writer and you find it really boring, try this out.
Yeah.
Is it, hey, have you ever thought about hiring a ghostwriter? Is it, did you know, like Kim Kardashian didn't even write her own biography? What?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
She had a ghostwriter.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
What if you could have one too? It's like there's all sorts of different like messaging angles. Where the cool thing about ads, from my having spoken to a couple of people who do ads really well, is that you can like literally track the ROI at every step along the journey and tweak your messaging.
Yeah.
So you could create an ad set that's like, okay, hook number 1 with second line number 2,
Yeah.
with like problem solution number 6, with like call to
Yeah,
action
yeah,
number
yeah.
8. Look at your retention curves on your ads. And it's
Yeah.
only like a 60-second ad, so like you don't have that much data to play around with.
Yeah.
And then you can be like, okay, if we splice hook number 3 to benefit number 4 and to
Yeah.
CTA number 5, that is the thing that's really winning.
That resonates, yeah.
And then you put 10k a day ad spend behind that, and hopefully you're
Yeah, positive ROI.
yeah, positive ROI and the whole shebang. And with software and stuff, it's like recurring revenue in theory and stuff. So
Dude, that sounds sick. I
that
love it.
feels like it would be super fun.
That sounds great.
And so separating out the info products into their own brands,
Yeah.
separating growth for the info products into their own acquisition channels
Yeah.
outside of me, in theory.
Yeah.
And then the software stuff, that's sort of the business arm of what we're doing. And then the personal arm is I can just make whatever content I feel like making.
Yeah, yeah.
And not feel like I have to make videos that will get views just for the sake of the algorithm or just for the sake of like sponsors or whatever.
Yeah.
And instead be able to just do whatever I want, which I already can kind of do to an extent. So that's the game plan.
Dude, that sounds epic. I love it. Nice. How long are we recording for now?
Like an hour. Ghostwriter in your pocket.
Should we
Should we wrap it up?
start to wrap it up?
How do we get home?
How do we do this? What way do you need to be going?
I need to go back home. Where do you need to go? I think back home is this way.
I just need to get to a road.
A road. I think there's a road there.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, I think the walking pod was, I think if the quality comes out decent,
Yeah.
I think this could be great, man.
It's going to be fun, yeah.
Like, how many steps do you think we did in an hour?
6,000.
Really?
10,000 steps per 10 minutes. 1,000 steps per 10 minutes is the benchmark.
Really?
Yeah.
6,000.
I'm surprised how no one knows this. Like, I didn't even know this until we did a video about like healthy habits, and I was investigating like, is 10,000 steps a day actually the thing?
Yeah.
And then Holly, our researcher, found the stat that like, hey, 10 minutes of walking is actually 1,000 steps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, that just makes it way easier to get my
then
steps
you
in.
can just estimate
And I'm
it
like, oh,
out.
I've got 7,000 steps a day, good. I just need to go for a half an hour walk. Oh, instead of taking an Uber to that thing, I'll just walk. And now
Yeah.
I've got my 10K steps. Nice.
Right, should we get out here?
And do.
All right, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.